We're going to start with some very basic angle facts when we're looking at angles and degrees. This will help us with our estimating of angles and just generally checking if we've measured an angle correctly. Okay, so first of all, we need to be confident with a few key facts. I'm going to put a protractor there to help us out. There's a few key angles we need to be happy with. So let me draw a few angles to start with. Okay, we're going to do all of our angles around this point here. Okay, so I'm going to draw them out as best as I can, but you need to be able to just kind of roughly imagine as well where points will be. Try and do my best. Okay, so basically what the purpose of this video is to get some key angles down, so that when we in the future estimate angles or when we measure angles, we've got something to compare them to in our head and know, is our answer way off or is it reasonable? So it's more of like a guide rather than a method to constantly use. Okay, so first of all, if we have this here being 0 degrees, we'll do everything in a clockwise direction. The first super obvious point you should reach is this here where we have 90 degrees. Okay, 90 degrees should be fairly easy to visualize. I mean, if worst comes to worst, you can take the corner of your page and kind of see if that fits in there, because the corner of a sheet of paper will always be 90 degrees, providing it's a standard size of paper. Okay, next up is, if we keep going round, is 180 degrees. Okay, these two things are very useful for classifying our acute and obtuse angles. Then we keep going round, so you can see here we're adding 90, adding 90, adding 90. So this next point here would be 270. And then if we add another 90, we've gone full circle, which I might draw on like this. And that is 360 degrees. Okay, 360 is a nice number to have in about degrees in a full turn, because there's lots of factors, okay? Right, so first of all, very basically, when you see an angle, you should be able to say, well, if I was to draw that angle and compare it to this diagram, what kind of quadrant would it be in? Would it be here? Would it be an acute angle? Would it come from here and go around here? Would it be an obtuse angle? Would it be anywhere down here and be a reflex angle? Would it be between 180 and 270? Would it be between 270 and 360? So this is kind of a good rough starting place to estimate angles from. Okay, if you're estimating an angle, you should know kind of what ballpark it is, and then we can focus down and look at the intermediate parts. So once we know that we're dealing with maybe an acute angle, there's a few other angles that you should have a good idea of what kind of a size they are, just when you're comparing angles. Right, so the first angle would be halfway between 90 and 0 degrees, which I'll mark it on as accurately as I can. I'll tell you what, I might use a different coloured pen. So halfway between 90 and 180, let me line stuff up. It's going to be there. So let's add that line on as best as I can. And this here, halfway between 90 and 0, is going to be 45 degrees. Okay, so now I can narrow it down. If I've got an angle and it fits in here, I know if my guess should be somewhere between 45 and 90 degrees. Okay, so you don't have to be accurate when you're doing these. Okay, you don't have to actually get this out and measure, because if you have a protractor and you're able to measure it, you might as well just measure the angle. But say you're starting off with an angle, you're not sure how big it is, I'd sketch on where 90 is, and then think, well, 45 is roughly around here. So is it this side? Is it this side? So it gives you an idea of where it'd be. You can then narrow it down a little bit more. 90 nicely divides into 3 as well. So you could try and split this angle into 3 roughly. Let's do it roughly and then see how accurate I am. So from there would be there. And there. See, I was not far off. Put them on. Okay, so this one here is going to be 30 degrees, and from here to here would be 60 degrees. Okay, so again, you can kind of narrow it down. They're just the key ones I think it's worth remembering when you're estimating an angle. I mean, you could then go further and split this in half and say, well, is it close to 15 degrees? You could split it into 3 and say, is it close to 10 degrees? But that should get you close enough. And when you are estimating angles, if you're ever asked to estimate an angle, or you need to estimate an angle for a question, there will be a tolerance of a couple of degrees either side. So say we have an angle that measures 9 degrees and we put 10 or 11 or 8, you'd be close enough to get by when you're answering the question.